So some will be on rotation or part of a special exhibit, like, say, if a certain sports team is in town. The owner is in the process of having the collection certified as the world's largest by the Guinness Book of World Records, folks. The Hall of Fame is located in downtown Milwaukee. It's open Monday through Friday from 10 to 6. They hope to have some weekend hours as the summer progresses. But right here?
Well, that's good.
Right
That's close if you want to go check that out.
Politicians? All sorts of things.
Give them the Pam Yankee bobblehead that we have.
I don't know if they have one. Yeah. We'll have to donate that one. So that's our time for now. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow. News 3 at 5 starts right now.
And right now at 5, Milwaukee police officers are mourning after one of their own was killed in the line of duty.
Republican legislative leaders are taking a stand against late-term abortion. We'll explain their plans.
Plus, confusion in Evansville as the school district now says it will not be adding a school resource officer this next school year.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now at 5.
And thanks for staying with News 3 Now. Alert days are in the forecast as a wintry mix makes its way to southern Wisconsin.
Let's get to the Weather Center right now and meteorologist Dave Caulfield, who is actually out on the patio. Dave, is it raining out there yet?
We have some flurries coming down as we speak, Susan, and that's really the only recent development in Madison. However, across southwestern Wisconsin, we've seen some freezing rain, some sleet, and some snow over the past hour or so as this first round of this wave of mixed precipitation starts to move through. But on Doppler track, you can see some shades of blue and pink, so there is already some mixed precipitation showing up on radar, even though we may be seeing some different things on the ground. So here's what it looks like in Platteville. Things have picked up there on the Queen Bee Radio Skycam over the past couple of minutes. Winter weather advisory in effect from right now into tomorrow for much of southern Wisconsin. Just to the north, we are going to see substantially more snow, so a winter storm warning in effect for those spots until tomorrow. Temperatures are in the upper 20s and low 30s, pretty close to the freezing mark across southern Wisconsin. And as we all know, in a forecast like this, those temperatures are very important. Wind speeds are starting to pick up a little bit out of the north and east at about 10 miles per hour in Madison. Your day planner for the next few hours will start to see the precipitation pick up across Dane County and in Madison proper, with a chance of some rain and snow, some freezing rain and sleet also possible as we get into the late evening hours. We'll have details on what we can expect into tomorrow and a cold weekend on the way in your forecast in just a few minutes.
All right, Dave, thank you. Milwaukee officials say a 17-year police veteran was fatally shot while trying to serve a warrant, becoming the city of Milwaukee's third officer killed in the line of duty in 8 months. Police say the officer was 35 years old. His name has not been released. The officer was part of a tactical enforcement unit serving a warrant on the city's south side when the officers made contact with 2 subjects and shots were fired. One officer was hit and died of his injuries, and a 26-year-old suspect from Milwaukee was arrested. Police say the officer was well loved by everyone in the department.
And we are deeply impacted by this loss for our agency. We're asking for prayers and your support from all of our city residents during this extremely difficult time for us.
Attorney General Josh Kaul released a statement saying, "I join all of Wisconsin in mourning the loss of one of our brave law enforcement officers. Those who put on the uniform every day put their safety at risk to protect others and to save lives." He goes on to say the DOJ continues to assist with the investigation, and the law enforcement death response team is supporting the Milwaukee Police Department.
The man accused of killing James and Denise Kloss and kidnapping their 13-year-old daughter, Jamie, made his first face-to-face appearance with a judge today. 21-year-old Jake Patterson was in and out in 5 minutes, waiving his right to a preliminary examination of the evidence. He is accused of fatally shooting the Klosses and taking Jamie back on October 15th before she escaped almost 3 months later from a secluded Douglas County cabin. Kloss friends and family were in court, but Jamie stayed away.
We've never talked about him or any of that kind of stuff, and I hope we never have to.
That's for Patterson. He's due back in court March 27th for an arraignment. His father, Patrick Patterson, left court saying simply that people should pray for the Kloss family. 2 people are in custody in connection to 5 armed and attempted robberies in Madison. Police say just before 9 this morning, officers responded to Bottle Stop Liquors on East Washington Avenue after a woman attempted to rob the business. She was armed with a handgun but fled empty-handed. The would-be robber got into a getaway car driven by a man, and officers say the description of that suspected vehicle helped officers make the arrests.
We were told of this yellow getaway car. We spotted it and we pulled it over on Johnson Street and took her into custody. There was also a man behind the wheel who was driving the car. We'll certainly be looking at him for potential tentative charges as well.
Police say the woman attempted all 5 armed robberies within 14 hours.
Madison police are investigating a shots fired incident on the city's south side last night. Officers responded to the 5300 block of Raywood Road near the southern shore of Lake Monona for a report of shots being fired. Officers found casings in the roadway at the scene. However, there was no damage and no injuries were reported.
The battle over abortion rights is underway tonight in Wisconsin.
It's just a day after President Trump called on Congress to pass legislation preventing late-term abortion. Rose Schmidt is live at the state capitol to explain efforts that local lawmakers plan to take. Rose?
Yes, well, Assembly Republicans say they want to keep current laws related to abortion on the books. They don't have any new legislation specifically in mind yet, but they do have a message for their colleagues on the other side of the aisle.
To the end of the 3rd trimester.
I don't think we have a limit in the bill.
Beginning a news conference by showing testimony of a proposal in Virginia, Assembly Republicans are using personal stories to say having an abortion minutes before giving birth will not be allowed in Wisconsin.
And according to what this video says, I could have 5 minutes earlier terminated it. It's not an abortion, it's murder.
They're using the video and efforts in other states to call on Democrats in their own House.
We would ask our colleagues to not put this body through the same kind of tribulations that we saw in Virginia. Wouldn't be worth our time, and we certainly hope our colleagues will respect the fact that that bill's not going to move.
Democrats introduced legislation in 2017 that would allow a woman to obtain an abortion at any time if a doctor deemed it necessary. But they're not saying whether they will draft a similar proposal this year.
At this point, bills are still being proposed for the session. What I would say is it's really important that we protect the lives and health of women and families in our state.
Representative Subak offered this explanation to contrast what she calls rhetoric from President Trump and Republicans in Wisconsin.
Women who seek abortions later in pregnancy are women who are facing really dire health or life consequences, women whose health or life is in danger.
Speaker Voss says he's also hoping to work with Governor Evers on increasing resources for families hoping to adopt. Evers' office released a statement today saying that if Republicans really want to help improve health outcomes for moms and babies, they should join Evers in supporting preventive, life-saving health programs.
Rose Schmidt live at the Capitol. Rose, thanks.
Republican legislative leaders are advocating again for tolls to help fund Wisconsin road repairs. Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald said he doesn't see how any state solves transportation infrastructure problems without some form of open road tolling. He says tolling could generate billions of dollars instead of millions, and raising the gas tax wouldn't create enough money. Assembly Minority Leader Gordon Hintz dismissed the GOP leader's remarks, saying they've been talking about tolling now for years. And this just in from the Channel 3000 Alert Center. Wisconsin's very own J.J. Watt will be speaking at the spring commencement at UW-Madison. Watt, the graduate of Pewaukee High School, the former Badger football player, will return to Camp Randall to give that speech May 11th. He left the UW early and was signed by the Texans, a first-round pick. Later received the Associated Press NFL Defensive Player of the Year award 3 times in his first 5 seasons. He's been named the Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year award recipient. That goes to a player for excellence both on and off the field. Well, the school district of Evansville will not be adding a school resource officer this next school year.
Many were hopeful that the passage of a referendum in November would create the position. Rock County reporter Adam Duxter joins us from our bureau at the Janesville Gazette with why the district made this choice. Adam?
Eric and Susan, the district superintendent tells me it's a matter of balancing priorities for a school district that already has a bunch of needs to begin with. But the decision not to add a school resource officer in the school district of Evansville is creating some confusion among city leaders. Both the city administrator and the police chief told me they were hopeful the referendum passing would create the position, although they told me that that was never directly implied. In fact, the chief says the city even made room for the addition in the 2019 budget, but after the referendum passed in November, they found out it wasn't going to happen.
Referendum passed. I'm thinking this is a good thing. City budget passed a week or two later, and I thought, okay, we're in. I contacted the school and said, can we get together and talk about this and work out the details? And they told me that they weren't quite ready, but they'd be in touch in the future to talk about it.
One of the biggest priorities listed on a community survey prior to the referendum vote was school safety. And Superintendent Jerry Roth told me over the phone today that the school district of Evansville still plans to prioritize school safety with the changes coming along with the referendum. But he says that there will not be a school resource officer in the building, at least not next year, maybe sometime down the road in the future, but not as of right now.
We'll continue to follow it. Adam Duxter in Janesville. Adam, thanks. The state's education agency is not going to reduce the number of mandated classroom hours.
The DPI said it received a number of inquiries after a string of weather-related closures. Our Keely Arthur shares how the district's here trying to make up for that lost time. Keely?
Well, it's definitely top of mind right now as some districts shut down for 3, even 4 days last week. Under state law, Wisconsin students in 1st through 6th grade are required at least 1,050 hours, grades 7 through 12, 1,137 hours. It's up to individual districts if they want to go over that. In this case, in the case of unexpected closures. Perry Hibner, the communications specialist for Middleton Cross Plains Area School District, says they have an extra 40 hours built in.
On the years when the weather's good, there's nothing wrong with kids being in school a little longer. And on the years like this year where we've had to deal with some of those inclement weather days, we have that time built in.
Middleton now has 10 hours left. Districts like Verona and Madison had time built in, but in some cases not enough. Verona middle schoolers and elementary students are fine, but the district is short at the high school level by 18 hours. And the Madison Metropolitan School District added an additional school day this Friday. Now, the governor of Minnesota gave schools there a pass on this threshold, something that the Wisconsin governor does not have authority to do.
All right, Keely Arthur, something we'll keep an eye on. Thank you, Keely.
Thank you, Keely. Well, Valentine's Day is just 8 days away now, and UW-Madison is helping its students find their perfect match. Data Match is a new matchmaking service available to UW students. All they have to do is fill out a survey. It's 21 questions, and then they'll receive 10 matches based on their responses. The organization has partnered with area businesses that are offering promotions to participating students.
We're trying to really get people out into the community, explore the community, and go on actual dates. And I think that's really where dating apps nowadays sort of suffer from. We want to sort of break that out and get people out into the community.
The survey launches on February 7th. The UW hopes to have around 10,000 students participate in the survey.
Still to come on News 3 Now at 5, the president getting high praise from Republicans for his State of the Union address last night. Hear what Democratic Senator Tammy Baldwin is saying about it.
New Mexico's governor is taking a stand against the president and his demands for border security.
And stocks close lower. The Dow off 21. The Nasdaq loses 27. And a 5-day win streak ends for the S&P 500 with a 6-point drop. We'll be right back. President Trump gets high praise from Republicans and independents for his State of the Union address last night.
Democrats did not give the speech such high marks. A majority of viewers said they approved of the president's address in a CBS News poll, with only Democrats expressing strong disapproval. Democratic Senator Tammy Baldwin says it was strange the president did not mention the shutdown, and she says he is out of touch with struggles Wisconsinites are facing.
He didn't talk about the fact that our agricultural economy and our dairy farms are in one of the hardest and most challenging times they've seen, some of which arises from some of President Trump's policies, like retaliation for his tariffs.
Republican Senator Ron Johnson reflected on the president's address, saying the president outlined a vision for Republicans and Democrats to work together to build a safer, more prosperous and secure country for every American. The speech was a celebration of America, its heroes and accomplishments. I hope we can all be inspired by it and respond to the president's call to choose greatness.
The governor of New Mexico takes a stand against the president's demands for border security, saying she will not participate in a charade of fear-mongering. Democrat Michelle Lujan Grisham ordered most of the state's 118 National Guard troops to withdraw from the border. She's leaving about a dozen in place to assist with humanitarian aid while she assesses which communities need more support. She's also demanding a process to handle legitimate asylum claims.
We are not supposed to be turning asylum seekers away. They have the legitimate required paperwork. At the port of entry, they're pushing you out. You don't even get to make the case. That is illegal.
I'm asking you to defend our very dangerous southern border out of love and devotion to our fellow citizens and to our country.
Lujan Grisham visited the southern border last month to assess the security threat. She said there is no crisis there.
Let's get right to the weather now, and meteorologist Dave Caulfield with another wintry mix moving in. Dave?
The second round of wintry weather and wintry mix is on the way for us across southern Wisconsin tonight, and really across the Midwest. We already have winter weather bulletins for much of the area, winter storm warnings to the north, even some blizzard warnings back closer to the Dakotas and into southern Minnesota. For southern Wisconsin, a winter weather advisory goes until tomorrow, and here's a little bit of why. Starting to see the beginnings of precipitation enter southern Wisconsin, showing up as snow, but just like yesterday, that may not all be snow. We do have a little bit of flurry activity I saw out on the weather patio a few minutes ago, but also we have some sleet and some freezing rain that can make things really slippery for the evening commute tonight and for much of Thursday as well. We'll zoom in so we can see just a little bit of a closer picture. We're starting to get some precipitation showing up closer to Monroe and Janesville, some very light precipitation moving into Madison, a little bit heavier back to the south and west, closer to Dubuque, Iowa, and Platteville. And speaking of Platteville, here's what it looks like. You really can't see all that much because the ice is kind of accumulating on our tower camera. In Platteville in this part of Grant County. Madison not looking too bad right now on the WISC-TV Skycam and the Edgewater Skycam overlooking the Capitol. We are not really seeing any precipitation falling right now. We do have 29 degrees for the high temperature today, which is exactly where we should be for this time of year. Actually a little bit warmer today compared to yesterday, but temperatures are looking colder by the time we get to this weekend. So 29 degrees right now, northeast wind at 9. That wind will definitely increase as we get into tomorrow, and kind of a windy day on Friday as well. That wind chill is at 20 degrees. Temperatures very important in a forecast like this. We're looking at upper 20s and low 30s, so pretty close to the freezing mark. Wind speeds out of the north and east, helping to bring a little bit of dry air into Madison, which is saving us from some precipitation right now, but that won't last all that long. That wind out of the northeast at about 8 to 15 miles per hour. So we do have alert days in the forecast for tonight and for Thursday. Slick roads are likely as we get into later tonight, and especially for the morning on Thursday. We could have some impacts to the commute there as well. And then that mix will change to snow throughout the afternoon hours on Thursday. Ice accumulations of up to about 1/4 of an inch, which is that threshold for when things really start getting dangerous outside, are possible across portions of southern Wisconsin as we get into tomorrow. Temperatures falling into the upper 20s for tonight, and as we get into tomorrow, we'll be in the mid-30s for highs, but but a lot of the day is going to be spent going downward through the 20s. We're turning colder for sure. So on Future Track, we can see that some waves of mixed precipitation are possible tonight into tomorrow morning. You can see just in time for that morning commute. Note the time, folks. This is 6 a.m. tomorrow. We could be dealing with some mixed precipitation across the Madison area and to spots to the east. And then we start to see any mixed precipitation change over to snow by the time we get to later Thursday. And we are cooling down, to say the least, starting off in the single digits for Friday morning. So here is ice accumulation possible. We're looking right around that 0.25 inch mark, which could really cause some issues on the roadways and with also trees and power lines once we start to get above that. And generally looking at minor snow totals, but they do increase those snow totals the farther north and west you head. So the 7 to 10 day forecast, we're looking at temperatures chilly this weekend with lows in the single digits below zero. Then as we get into Monday and Tuesday of next week, we could be looking at a little bit more accumulation of snow. A quick look at your first alert traffic update as we head into the Beltline at Todd Drive. Some slow go in both directions. We are looking at an accident that just popped up on the Beltline. In fact, we'll zoom in so we can see exactly where that is. Pretty close to Park Street, and I think is on the eastbound side, just popped up. So sorry about that, folks. We are looking at a drive time of 14 minutes, Verona Road eastbound to John Nolan with an average speed of around 20 miles per hour. So precipitation not falling yet, but we can already see the delays starting to pile up on the Beltline. So if we start to get a little bit more mixed precipitation, those will only go up. And tomorrow morning commute could be tricky as well.
All right, we'll keep an eye on it. Thanks, Dave.
Ahead at 5, our program is helping new mothers who are struggling with addiction after a short break. Stay with us. New research shows the opioid epidemic can be especially deadly for new mothers.
Kenneth Craig found a unique program in Massachusetts that's giving moms the kind of help they need.
Mouth, ears.
Jessica Cardinal is slowly rebuilding her life.
Belly, leg.
The 24-year-old is a recovering heroin addict and a mother of two. She says her darkest days are unrecognizable.
You know, it ended with me in a car shooting heroin with my kid in the back. And that, to me, was my, rock bottom. There's just so much pain, so much guilt, so much shame around that. And, I didn't want to feel like that anymore.
We met Jessica in the final weeks of her 15-month stay at Johnson Street, a residential treatment program in Lynn, Massachusetts, specifically designed for women and mothers struggling with addiction.
What's been the hardest part for you?
Balancing being a mother in my recovery. Grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change.
Here, women lean on each other for support through daily group counseling sessions. It's also a safe space for pregnant women and new mothers, which means Jessica was able to keep her youngest child with her.
I didn't know how to be a mother or how to do everyday things when I first came here. Coming here, they kind of teach you how to do that all over again. Back to the basics, making your bed, cooking, cleaning, getting on a schedule.
A recent study in Massachusetts shows in the first year after pregnancy, new mothers with opioid use disorder are at a higher risk for an overdose, due in part to the lack of resources available to them and the shame and stigma. That's why Johnson Street director Joanna Huntington says women aren't left on their own when they walk out the doors.
We're meeting with them once a week, ensure that they're going to their meetings, they're meeting with their sponsor, they're meeting with their therapist. So it's just that added support.
Jessica is now living with both of her children on her own.
I want them to have a good life and to be happy and safe and healthy. So
She's still not using and says right now that's all she can ask for. Kenneth Craig, CBS News, Lynn, Massachusetts.
And stay with us. We'll have another check of your forecast in just a moment.
The biggest
It's going to be another slippery night.
Yeah, it's starting to get icy in spots like Mineral Point. Just got a report from there that the ice is starting to accumulate, and this trend will continue to the north and east, closer to Madison over the next few hours. By the time we get to tomorrow, we still have some snow and ice to deal with.
All right, we'll see you in 30 minutes for News 3 now at 6. CBS Evening News is next.